to shadow that fundamental duality is to be balanced, to have one foot firmly planted in order and security, and the other in chaos, possibility, growth, and adventure. Dr. Jordan P. Peterson. This is Rapid Postcard number 003. Today we will explore some Q&A about the balance and also the dichotomy of leadership. Let's go. Question number 1. What is more important, the balance of work and rest, or the aggression of hard working? So question number 1. What is more important, the balance of work and rest, or the aggression of the hard working? Okay, so this is a very interesting question, and I think this is a question of that a lot of men, in fact I think almost every man had in their mind, is about whether you should do this or you should do that, and how you balance the weights in your life. So let's explore this question together today. So I'm quite glad that I received this question today, because this question means that the asker of this question is quite a quite aggressive person, right, when it comes to work. So he came to ask this question. It probably means that you are quite a responsible person, so you really try hard to complete your missions. So first of all, to whoever are trying to answer this question out there, thank you for your responsibility that you have put into the work. So I think that aggression is an inevitable factor in any work, because without a certain amount of aggression, nothing can be done at all. And the aggression is actually necessary in any environment. However, it needs to be balanced out with the resting in order to be in long-term efficiency. So you have to be balanced. So there are a dichotomy of balance that must be taken in any action, because the problem itself usually have many faces and angles, not just a very simple problem. Therefore, an amount of work must be applied on each phases of the problems. So this is actually very true in any work that you're gonna work in reality. For example, in order to for this postcard to work, I have to work on both the long form videos like this podcast, and also I have to work on the short form video, which are the shorts that I put on the channel. So I have to work on both of them at the same time. Also, I have to calculate the time, to divide the time between my recording times and also the preparation time for the actual script of the podcast. So there's always a dichotomy in any of the jobs that you gotta do. So let us take some example to illustrate the point we are talking about. So back in the day when I was I am still a math teacher now, but let's talk about some of my previous times as a math teacher. So I was asked by a friend of mine to come to his home and teach his daughter math, because his daughter is a little bit weaker in mathematics. So the daughter was in grade 7. However, at that time she was supposed to be in grade 8. So in reality, her math score at school was so bad that they had to force her to stay behind for an extra year, just to recover, just to learn extra math, so she could catch up with the curriculum or syllabus. Otherwise, she will not be able to understand the concept of mathematics in grade 8. So because he was a relative of mine, I don't think he was a relative. I think he was an acquaintance of mine. So anyway, we have some good relationship. So I agreed to come to my friend's house and help him with his daughter's situations. So I accepted the request. I told my friend I would come to help his daughter. So however, I knew that one thing for certain. I knew that there's one certain thing. The position that I take, the job that I took, is not just about a math teacher job. It's not just about a math teacher job at all. It's gonna be a big warfare. I know that in order to be a good math teacher, you have to be a good math teacher. You have to be good at math first. Then you also have to build good relationship with the student as well. So there is a balance in the job that I gonna need to take. So I know that when I came into the position right from the beginning. So usually students fall behind because there's a combination of psychological issue and academic issues. So I was aware of that fact. Even though I did not know the whole picture very clearly, I knew for a fact that in order to have this girl, I need to have her both academically and psychologically. So with that idea in mind, I came into the job with a reasonable plan. I would teach her the basic knowledge of math, of grade 7 mathematics, and also organize some funny activity to cheer her up. At the time I was doing this job, this clear description was not visible to me. However, I was somehow instinctively know what to do. That is to keep a balance. Well, because the reason why I know this instinct, well, I have this instinct because I base this on my actual experience and also my friends' experience. So we were all a good math student back then when we was in high school, and we was overstretched many times because we cannot maintain a balance in our lifestyles, and also in our study, and that was bad because we was overstressed and having like very stressful period a lot of time. So I myself had to so actually this is an actual fact. I actually witnessed one friend of mine. So she was studying physics and she overstudied. So she actually had to went to the psychiatric asylum for a year to recover at the psychiatric asylum for overstudy. So I know that there's a fact that you can overstudy and you're gonna be badly influenced your health. And that also happened with me. I have so many sleepless nights, so I understand the stress that imposed by the study of mathematics. So because I understand that, so I know that when I teach this girl, I gonna have to be balanced in my approach and my activities. A balance of work and play must be kept in any actions. So I was recognized of the balance that must be kept. So I went to my friend's house, greeted him warmly, and also addressed his daughter in a bright and positive manner. My friend, he was much older than me. We had a great relationship back then. So in this episode, I call him my friend. Yes, so actually he was a senior. He was about 10 years older than me, 10 or 15 years older than me. So actually, I should call him one of my senior. But in this episode, because we have good relationship, I want to call him my friend. So he was a skinny guy who was heavily smoking. However, his voice was very loud and very clear, a direct indication of power and aggression. He worked hard as a civil officer, dedicating his life to help many people who were struggling with legal and civilian issues. However, he was also very cheerful and positive. He was a very good man. So when I met this man, I was very respectful of him. He was powerful in his character, and also he was very kind to his surrounding people, including me. So and he tried his whole life to support his friends and also his family and also the people around him. So I have massive respect for this man. So I decided to have him and his daughter out. So I keep a calm and positive attitude to greet his daughter. The daughter, like her dad, was skinny. She was a little bit intimidated. It was normal because it was our first meeting. So we went on with our study as planned. I was teaching her grade 7 geometry. She was forgetting a lot of the basic knowledge as a 7th grader. So I decided to went on and teach her the basic concept of grade 7 geometry. So it was the first lesson, so I kept things simple. I only taught her the easy exercises to keep her successful. The fact that she could do the exercises boosted her confidence. And after around 30 minutes of studying, I allowed her to use my mobile phone in order to listen to some of her favorite songs and have some rest for around 5 minutes. So she can listen to her favorite song on my phone for some minutes, and that relaxed her. And she was very happy about the time. She had a big smile on her face. So you can see that we have to have a balance, right? When I was teaching this girl, I teach her the basic concept. I have to show her how the work is done, but at the same time, I let her play and have her time and also enjoy the lessons. This dichotomy has made the class successful and has made our time together as a teacher and a student effective and fun. She was very happy about the time. She had a big smile on her face. So the fact that I could balance the academic requirement and the psychological aspect of the lesson has made the lesson successful. The students study well and we have a good time. This demonstrates the need for the dichotomy to be kept at work. So in fact, in most of my classes, I usually try to finish my lesson and to finish the academic requirement of the lesson. But also I have to try to communicate with the student, and also we have to try to make the lesson actually fun. So because the students have a lot of things, right? They have a lot of subjects to be taken care of. Also, they have their relationship with their friends, with their puberty, and also with their parents, which are all very hard. So I think we should understand the difficulty on the student's shoulder. So with that understand of the difficulty on the student's shoulder, I think we should come to make the lesson a little bit easier, so a little bit funnier. So we're going to try to communicate, and also we try to make the lesson fun. But at the same time, we have to make sure about the knowledge quality of the lessons. So we have to make sure that the student under the lesson well, they understand the concept well, and they can do the exercises on their own. And I think that with that dichotomy in mind, the class is gonna be good and successful. So that's the first question. So actually, the first question doesn't end there. The first question doesn't end there. The first question actually doesn't end there. Now, we can discuss a situation in teaching where actually the dichotomy of leadership is being violated. This is quite an extreme case. This disturbance of balance can cause serious consequences, even death and suicide. So today we're gonna explore the case of the suicide of a gifted student in Hanoi due to parent enforcement to overstudy. So this is actually one of the realistic case in Vietnam where the student, he's a gifted student in Hanoi, he actually committed suicide because his parent was forcing him to study too much. So that was a very sad case, and we hope that the boy has rest in peace now, and we're gonna examine that case today. So the story we were telling were extracted from the camera on the victim department. So it was quite late at night. That was very late at night already. It was 3 a.m. of April 1st, 2022. A father was staying up watching his son studying for exam. That time was too late for any study. That time should be the time a young man should have gone to sleep to preserve his health. However, the kid was still studying. His father was laying on the sofa behind him, playing with his smartphone and urging the child to study harder. The time was too late for any studying already. But the father was still giving out order for his son to study harder, while himself was actually playing video games on his mobile phone. And there would be straws, and there would be straw on this wall that broke a camel's back. The child decided not to study anymore. Instead, he was sitting on the table writing his death letter to his parent and preparing his suicide. The parent was not aware of the situations. The father was still giving out order for his son to study harder. The child has had enough. He left the table. He went out to the balcony, sitting quietly. The dad, unfortunately, still ignorantly not aware of the situation. He was still giving out order for his son to keep studying. The child opened the door and told his dad, "Father, please have a look at the paper I wrote for you on the table." So actually, the son, he was actually preparing for his suicide. He gonna jump down to meet his death very soon. Because he was overstressed out the study that his father forced on him. So this was actually very dark and sad. Yeah. So we're gonna continue with the story. The dad, ignorantly, still not aware of the situation. The child again told him to read his letter. The dad asked, "What did you write? What did you write? What did you write, son?" The dad finally looked at the paper that his son wrote, and it wrote like this. And the paper said, it was not because life was hard. Even though I have tried my best, the result was the same. Because my fault. I just want to express quickly. I felt sorry for Tu, my sister, who will have to keep up with my mom's bad temperament. Mom cares a great deal about us, but she always does the wrong thing. I do not feel that any of my opinion that I told my mom has any value at all. Goodbye, Dad. You are hot-tempered, you were careless, ignorant, but always think you are correct. That's all. I don't want to be mad. I don't feel this is fun. But this is the last line. Goodbye. April 1st, life is a fucking joke. The letter ends there. So, when the Dex had finished reading the letter, he instinctively knew that something was wrong. So he looked out the balcony and he called on his son. Hưng ơi, he called on his son, and I think instinctively he tried to apologize. However, it was too late already. Hưng climbed out the balcony and he jumped down onto the ground. His apartment was on the 25th floor, which means he was around 100 meters up from the ground. Hưng jumped to his death from the 25th floor. Hưng climbed over the balcony and jumped down to earth from the 25th floor. He died. It was actually very sad. So you can see that from this episode, we can see that the dad already had broken the dichotomy of leadership. As a leader, he has pushed his child too hard. He has forced his child to study to 3 a.m. in the morning, which is too much for any child. The child, in contrast, took extreme ownership of the problem. He tried to study as he was required, and he said that all of this, even his suicide, even his fault, was his actual responsibility, was his actual fault. He took extreme ownership of the situation. But the dad, as a leader, he has broken the dichotomy of leadership. He has forced his son to work too hard to an extreme point. The child needs to go to bed. 3 a.m. in the morning was not a good time to study. The child has to have his rest. So instead of taking care of his own child, the father chose to give an order to force his sons to study. And that broke the dichotomy of leadership. The father has gone too far in one direction, and the result is the death of his own child. This demonstrated the need for the dichotomy to be kept at work. So we can see that keeping the balance is the key to work. The dichotomy must be kept. And through this episode, we want to pay our tribute and condolence to Hưng. So Hưng, please rest in peace. People remember you. Rest in peace, son. So again, this is a very serious issue. So a lot of parents nowadays was having a very high standard and expectation for their child. Oh, my child has to win the gold medal in this competition, in this math competition. Oh, my child has to have perfect score on this physics exam, or he has to go this prestige school. or he had to finish all these tasks to be competitive with his other friends. Well, studying is good, but also rest is very important, because at the end of the day, a child is only a child. So a child has to play. A child has to have good resting time. A child has to have relationships with his friends in order to develop well. A child has to be physically trained to get better, stronger, and faster. Not just studying, right? Studying is just a part of the equation. Even though I understand that the enforcement that the parents put on the child was due to the actual necessary to be competitive in life, and maybe behind all the forks and the asking for good attentions, if if that enforcement was going too far, then it is actually fatal and bad. So please give your child proper time to play. Let them to have a childhood. Let them to play more, and we can plan enough time for them to study and study well, and being good at even study. So the balance of work and play has to be kept. The dichotomy in any action must be retained, and that is very important point. That is a crucial point. The dichotomy must be kept. So rest in peace, Hung. So we're going to move on with the next questions. So question number 2. Oh, this guy sent me this question. He said that, "Hi Lam, I'm working as an English teacher at the English Center. My manager is a horrible manager." Okay. He has been given the position because of his family had invested the money into the center, but he was no way adequate for the job. He's mean, inefficient, and lazy. What should I do? This is quite an interesting question, because usually the problem is that the worker are not good enough. In this case, actually, it's the reverse Uno, right? The manager was actually not good enough for his position, right? So all right. This is a complicated question that's going to require a lot of analysis, but however, the answer to this question is quite simple. You will have to work harder to support your boss, or at least you should find a peaceful way to improve the situation. And let me explain to you why you should do that. Okay. So what you should do is that you should work hard to support the boss that you think that he's bad, because if you work hard for an incompetent boss, of course the quality of the work of the company is gonna go up, right? Because you try to do a good job, good work. So the work of the whole company, of you and the boss, gonna get good, and when the result is good, you're gonna have a good relationship with everyone, with your team, and your effort gonna be recognized, because not even though your boss is a good boss, is a bad boss, even though your boss is a bad boss, there are all the boss in the whole company as well. There's a management director, right? There's a management board of the company, right? Not just one guy. Every company have a board of director. So now, if you work well, if you work good, the whole board the whole management board, they're gonna recognize that. They're gonna recognize that. Oh, you have this guy. He has put in a lot of work. He worked hard, and he was humble and was trying to improve his job, and he was trying to make a benefits, and he loved his job. So how about we try to have him back? How about we try to promote him, or we try to increase his salary? Because actually people recognize talent, you know. People actually recognize talent. So if the manager, they see that you work in a bad situation and you try to improve that, they're gonna recognize their talent, because they are good leaders, right? Not just because in the leaderboard, not only the board, there is not only the bad board, there are all the good boards as well, right? There are all the good boards, so they're gonna recognize the talent, and they think that, hey, oh, that kid is good, so yeah, maybe we have him a little bit, and maybe they wanna try to support you, right? This time they try to support you back, because you have tried hard to support their company, right? So maybe they offer you a higher position. Maybe you went more from a normal worker to be a manager position or a leader position. Maybe you get a better salary. Maybe you got a 30% increase in your salary, which is amazing, right? You got more power, you have more money, which is good for you, man. Which is good for you. So do not feel anger or frustrated. Do not feel anger or frustrated with an incompetent boss. Try to support the board at best of your ability, and be humble. And be humble. If you stay humble and support the incompetent boss, the boss himself will also recognize it, not just the director board, you know. Because you know, if a boss is doing a bad job and you know order has to have him out, he knows it, even though his ego was too big and he didn't want to admit it publicly because his ego is too big, and he didn't apologize publicly. His subconscious mind, his ego actually know that you are the one that have him. You are the one that makes the company improve, right? He knows that. So he gonna know that your effort is important for the team, even though he didn't show it out. So they're gonna be, and he gonna respect you for that at least, right? He gonna respect you for that at least. And now they're gonna be two scenarios. They're gonna be two scenarios in these situations. So the first scenario is that the boss actually, the good scenario is that the boss is actually recognize your talent. Hey, this kid was good, yeah. So he promoted you to a higher position and he paid you more money, which is amazing, right? This is amazing. So now you earn more money, you can have a lot more things figured out with your life, and you can make influence because now you was on a higher position. You can have the company more, you can have your friends or your colleagues more because you have more influence on the team, right? So that's good. In the end, the business is better and everyone earns more, right? So that's great. However, there's a bad case scenario as well. There's a bad case scenario as well. Well, you know that people has their ego, right? Now, everyone has their ego, right? Everyone has their ego. Now, what if the boss that you are working for actually have a big ego and actually they try to sabotage you, even though he has already seen that you try hard and you work hard for his company and you try to improve the company. He let his ego to control himself, and he did not recognize your talent and your work, and he discredited your effort. What if that is the scenario? That's okay too. Keep working hard. That's okay. Keep working hard. Let me explain why. So the bad case scenario is that the boss thinks that all the job you do is actually happen because he's good and you did nothing and he did not recognize you. So he thinks that he's talented and your effort doesn't matter. So stay calm. Yeah, just chill. Stay calm. So even if that the boss egotistically think all the reason come from him, your other friends, your other co-workers in the company know that you are the contributors to the success, right? And there are gonna be other manager in the company aside from the bad boss himself, right? So they're gonna recognize you, and they're gonna try to promote you or get you a salary increase, right? So in the end, you gonna get benefit because that's the reality of the working environment, right? If you work well and you work hard, and the boss doesn't recognize that, the other boss, the other manager, they will, because talent is something you cannot hide. Because when manager they see that talent, people's talent, you can see, oh, this guy is talented, or they have a special talent, they're gonna recognize it because it's very precious and it's very rare. So when I was a leader, when I was a kind of a senior teacher in programming, I also recognized one of the guys who has better skill than me, because I know that I observed the way he worked, and I read his profiles. I actually saw that he was a very talented IT engineer, and I actually tried to help him with his career. So I actually recommend him to some better position I found for him. It's more suitable to him, and it pays more. So I recommend him some of the position like that. So I know that other managers, they also recognize talent as well, because I know that I have recognized talent in my past. So if you work hard and your direct boss doesn't recognize you, or the boss will, don't worry. You have to stay humble. You have to stay humble, and you have to keep working hard. Now, there's a funny scenario like this. Let's discuss the scenario we actually go and you rebel against the bad boss because you think he is stupid. So now let's think of the scenario when you actually go and you rebel against the bad boss because you think you are better than the bad boss, and you think the bad boss was stupid. Now you will get fired. You will get fired. That's very easy because the boss has the power in his hand, and he's stupid, so he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. Now you're gonna have to find a new job because you are fired, right? So you're gonna have to find a job, and you're gonna have to write your CV again, and you're gonna have to go to the interview again, which is very long and lonely and gruesome. So don't do that, right? Don't argue with the bad boss, right? Okay. Now, the coworker who actually loves you and you have them, they cannot do anything, right? Because they're just employee. They are powerless, right? They do not have the power over the bad boss, and they are actually scared of the bad boss himself, right? Because most people are actually powerless. So now you're gonna have to find a new job, and that's painful. And also your team gonna also suffer as well, right? Your team gonna also suffer as well because they lost a valuable player. lost someone who can do the job, and they have to stuck with a bad boss who keep making stupid decisions, and nobody can understand that boss, and the job going down. So now you are in the best situation, and your team is actually in a terrible situation as well. So both you and your team wanna be devastated because you arguing with the bad boss. So so stay humble. So stay humble. Work harder and support that boss. Threat. But if you can think of the possibility of applying for another job that fits you more, or you think the boss there is better, or the environment better, then go ahead, try your best, because that's good for you. You are talented, so you should find a job that fits you. Well, because sometimes even you try your best, if the manager is not good, you are not gonna make a lot of change. So I want to tell you the realistic case of me. I used to work at an IT company, and the boss was, the woman was fine. The woman was fine, but she was a little bit not very good socially. She just was very aggressive, but she didn't understand the emotion of the workers. So all of the meeting that we sit together, she just talking. She didn't care about anyone. She just talk about blah 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 work. You have to work on this. You have to work on that. Everyone hates her. Everyone hates her. Me too. I didn't like that woman at all. However, this is actually true. I just stay silent. So when she was talking a lot and she was talking all the shitty things, I just stay silent, man. If somehow I want to listen, I just listen. If I don't want to listen, I just read document to show that I'm working. So she didn't pick me up, and I did a good job at the company. I didn't slack. I was on time on my classes. I was on time on my work. I understand the basic of the RT of the programming part. I was taken care of. So she didn't pick on me. I just accept that she was a bad boss, and I worked hard toward it. So in the company, I made some good relationship with my friends, and everyone was kind of working fine. So yeah, the woman, she was dedicated as a worker. The fact that it's just that she didn't know how to lead. That's so she's not a good leader, and she didn't have anyone show her how to lead a group or a company. So yeah. So chill. Good, be a good employee for the bad boss. Yeah, try your best. Okay. Now we come to the third questions. This is quite an interesting one. Question number three. Love, would you rather be tough or be smart? This is actually a very good question, because in my opinion, you have to be both tough and smart. I think that you have to be both tough and smart at the same time. So I think that toughness and smartness are two faces of the same coin. These two characters are not mutually exclusive, and you should be tough and smart at the same time. So there are situations that gonna require toughness, and there are situations that gonna require smartness, right? So in reality, a lot of times you're gonna have to carry on heavy loads, right? You have to carry a heavy chairs or heavy tables, right? Or for example, a guy is injured and you have to carry him in your hand to rush to the hospital. So then you have to be physically strong, right? So then you have to train your muscle. You have to do push up. You have to try to lift weights. You have to train Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, so you get stronger, and your muscle, it's actually used to carrying heavy loads, right? So you have to be strong. You have to train to be strong. At the same time, you have to train to be smart because many times, actually most of the time, you have to have a very smart mind. You have to be very intelligent to think of a solution to the problem, and you have to strategize things and plans in life and in work in general, right? So you have to be smart as well. So a lot of situation gonna require brain power, right? Alright. So for example, if you want to pass a math test, you're gonna have to be study hard to get smarter. Also, on the battlefield, you have to be able to be smart to guess what's your opponent's next move, right? You have to study history, military theory, and even the psychology of your opponents to guess what is his next move. So you have to be smart. But at the same time, you have to be strong as well because in the battlefield you're gonna have to carry a lot of things. You're gonna have to wear heavy bag of 20 kilograms with your stuff and the guns and the food and the clothes. So you have to be strong to endurance life or battle. Most of the time, the situation will require both your brain and your muscle. So let's just take an example of this. So for example, let's think about the situation when you have to take an SAT test, right? So you have to take an SAT test. SAT test is a test that tests your intellectual skill in math and reading, right? In math and reading. So obviously you will have to train your mind very hard to take the test. You have to learn the vocabulary, you have to learn the math, you have to read the story, the textbook, the text in order to develop your reading comprehension skill and your mathematical skill, right? At the same time, SAT is a very physically demanding job. The test usually lasts 3 to 4 hours, so you have to also prepare yourself physically so you can sit down 3 to 4 hours to do a test, right? And this is no joke at all. This is no joke at all. Sitting alone 4 to 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours is physically demanding. So you have to prepare yourself physically so that your body can endure the long hour of sitting and thinking, and also the stress and the distraction that go along. A lot of people who have to do long hour tests, they actually do not train themselves physically. So when they got into the real test environment, a lot of them fainted and cannot finish the test. So this is actually true because I know that people, when they come to do an important test, important exams, they actually faint because their physicality and the stress the stress level was too much for their body and their psychology to handle. So you can see the combination of mentality and physicality is required to get the job done. So now we can examine an MMA fight. So now we can examine an MMA fight between Royce Gracie and Gerard Gordeau in 1993 to see that both the mind and the muscle has to work together to get to victory. Let's see. Roy Gracie weighed in at 81.6 kilograms and he hits at 183 centimeters. Gerard Gordeau weighed in at 98 kilograms and his weight was 196 centimeters. So you can see here, out of raw power, Gordeau was having a huge advantage over Gracie because he was higher and heavier and stronger. However, Roy Gracie was also a very tough man, based on his weight and his height. At the beginning of the fight, Gordo tried to corner Gracie with boxing. This is the beginning of the UFC. Gracie decided to fake an attack, and immediately he changed level and shot a double leg takedown. Gracie had a clinch of Gordo, pushed him backward to the edge of the octagon and pinched Gordo there. Gordo did not seem to have any knowledge of how to keep distance and how to do takedown defense. Very soon Gracie pulled Gordo down to the ground, took his back and choked him down with a rear neck choke. Gordo has to tap and Gracie won the fight. So you can see Royce Gracie was a very strong man, and he knew a lot of jiu-jitsu techniques, because of course he was from the Gracie family who was very famous in jiu-jitsu, and that knowledge about jiu-jitsu and wrestling makes him a very smart man. And because he was very smart and he was very strong, that makes him a very dangerous man. So very soon Gracie pulled Gordo down and took his back and choked him down with a rear neck choke. Gordo had to tap and Gracie won the fight. Gracie was from Gracie family. Royce Gracie was from Gracie family. This family has a great knowledge of wrestling and striking, so they were very famous in mixed martial art. Therefore, as a member of the family, Royce Gracie was smart and knowledgeable about both the art of striking and wrestling. He was also a very tough man based on his weight and height. The combination of his smartness and toughness was the reason for his victory. So the example has demonstrated that in life or in mixed martial art or in any job, you're gonna need both the brain and your muscle to win. You have to be smart and you have to be strong in order to be a good man and to win and to work well. So you should be both strong and smart. Work harder, read more, be stronger, be smarter, and become a better man. I think that's all for this podcast. So thank you very much. Check. Yeah.